Girl in the Box, the mysterious crime that shocked Germany. The kidnapping of Ursula Herrmann took place on the 15th of September 1981. 10-year-old Ursula Herrmann headed home by bike from her cousin's house. But she never arrived. So began one of Germany's most notorious post-war criminal cases, which remains contentious to this day. After class on Tuesday the 15th of September 1981, the first day of the new school year, a 10-year-old girl named Ursula Herrmann returned to her house in Qing. Ursula, the youngest of 4 siblings, practiced piano with her oldest brother Michael, and then headed off to her late afternoon gymnastics lesson in Skondorf, cycling through the forest along the lakeside path. When the gym class was over, she went to her cousin's house in Skondorf, where she ate dinner. At 7:20 p.m., Ursula's mother phoned the aunt to say her daughter needed to come home. The shadows were lengthening, but it was still light, and the cycle ride would only take 10 minutes. Half an hour later, she was still not home. Her mother again called the aunt, who said Ursula had left 25 minutes before. Both of them immediately knew something was wrong. Ursula's father rushed into the forest from Qing, and her uncle did the same from Skondorf. They met in the middle, along the path. Ursula's name rang out through the darkening wood, but there was no reply. Within an hour, neighbors, police and firemen had joined the search, torch beams raking the water, and struggling to penetrate the thick undergrowth. With midnight approaching, and rain falling, a sniffer dog led its handler away from the lake, into the brush. There, 20 meters from the path, was Ursula's little red bike. But she was nowhere to be seen. At first light the search intensified. Dozens of officers wearing raincoats and rubber boots spread out through the dense forest. As helicopter hovered overhead, a police boat and divers scanned the shallows of the lake. Local radio carried the shocking news of the missing girl, 4 feet 7 inches tall, with short blonde hair, wearing dark green cords, a grey woolen cardigan and red-brown sandals, the daughter of a teacher and a housewife. On the Thursday morning, when Ursula had been missing for more than 36 hours, the phone rang in the Herrmann house. When Ursula's parents picked up, there was silence, and then a short, familiar jingle, which they recognized from the traffic bulletin on the BN3 radio station. More silence ensued, and then the jingle played again before the caller hung up. 3 more similar calls, baffling and sinister, followed over a period of hours. A team from the local police department, now stationed inside the Herrmann home, began recording the calls. At noon the next day, the postman delivered an envelope addressed to Ursula's father, marked urgent. Inside was a ransom note composed using letters and words cut out from tabloid newspapers. "We kidnapped your daughter," the note began, in broken German. "If you ever want to see your daughter alive again, then pay 2 million Deutschmarks, £450,000 ransom." The kidnappers, expecting the letter to have arrived a day earlier, before the calls began, explained that they would phone the Herrmanns using a jingle as their call sign. "Just say if you will pay, or not. If you call the police or do not pay, we will kill your daughter." When the phone rang that afternoon, and the jingle sounded, Ursula's mother agreed to pay the ransom. She also asked for proof of life. What were her daughter's nicknames for her 2 stuffed toys? When the kidnappers did not reply, she became frantic. "Talk to me, say something, something from Ursula." That same evening, the kidnappers posted a second letter, which arrived on Monday the 21st of September, with curiously specific instructions regarding the ransom. The kidnappers wanted the money to be paid in used 100 Deutschmark bills, packed in a suitcase. It was to be delivered to unnamed location by Ursula's father, who was to drive alone in a yellow Fiat 600 going no faster than 90 kilometers per hour. Unlike some other residents of Qing, the Herrmanns were not wealthy. They had only been able to build a home near the lake, because Ursula's great-grandfather had purchased some grazing land there, decades earlier. A neighbor raised a part of the ransom, and the state agreed to cover the rest. The Hammonds waited desperately for more instructions. But there were no more letters and no more calls. Nor did the police have any strong leads. 2 weeks passed. The police decided to search the forest again. More than 100 officers were assembled, with 10 sniffer dogs. The wood was divided into 4 parts, and each quarter into small grids. The teams began searching every grid, one by one, using metal rods to probe the ground. By the 4th day of searching, a gloomy Sunday, they had covered most of the forest. Ursula had been missing for 19 days. At 9:30 a.m., there was a loud shout. In a tiny glade about 800 meters away from the lake path, one of the officers had struck something solid when probing the soil. Another policeman rushed over after wiping away the leaves, and scraping through a layer of clay, discovered a brown blanket covering a wooden board. He removed it only to find second board, which appeared to be the lid of a box. It was 72 centimeters by 60 centimeters, the size of a small coffee table, painted green and locked from the top with 7 sliding bolts. Using a spade, he forced the lid open, and peered in. There was Ursula. Her body was cold, lifeless. The officer wept when lifting her out. An autopsy concluded that Ursula died within 30 minutes to 5 hours of being buried. Since there was no sign of struggle, or even movement inside the box, the doctors assumed she had been drugged beforehand, possibly with nitrous oxide. It appeared that the kidnappers had planned to keep Ursula alive. The box, 1.40 meters deep, was fitted with a shelf and a seat that doubled as a toilet. It was stocked with 3 bottles of water, 12 cans of Fanta, 6 large chocolate bars, 4 packets of biscuits, and 2 packs of chewing gum. It also contained a small, bizarre library of 21 books. To enable Ursula to breathe, the box had a ventilation system made from plastic plumbing pipes, which extended to ground level. But whoever designed it had failed to realize that without a machine to circulate the air, the oxygen would quickly run out. The police believed they were hunting more than one kidnapper because of the size and weight of the box. At 60 kilograms, it would probably have needed at least 2 people to carry it into the woods. The perpetrators must have known the forest well, for they had chosen a remote site within it, and had avoided attention while digging the hole and hacking paths through the dense brush. Desperate to find the culprits, the police offered a 30,000 Deutschmarks reward for information, and tips poured in. One name that came up was Werner Mazurek. He was 31, lived with his wife and their 2 children just a few hundred meters from the Hammonds. Werner Mazurek has been convicted of the murder, but the oldest sibling of Ursula is certain that he didn't commit the crime. In that case, who did?
Make sure to subscribe for more world mystery videos.